There we go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the new format, Cornerstone Catch Up. I just realised when I talk and I'm looking at myself on camera, like my mouth does it, goes over to one side.
You think you got your problem? You think you got problems with your mouth? I look like a muppet.
Dean hasn't had a shave for a few days. Look what's happened.
Who's Dean?
Yeah, sorry, Santa. Sorry, Santa. Is the Cornerstone team on the naughty list?
Not all of them, but I'll keep that till Christmas Eve, I think.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you very much for joining us. We did last time, we went for a slightly different format, a bit more conversational, and we thought we had some feedback, mostly from me and Dean and Joe, and said that, oh, we like this, let's carry on with it. So yeah, we've gone for the same format again. So we thought we'd kick off by talking about Christmas. I don't know if you've noticed, like all the stuff around. There you go. Thank you, Joe.
Is it Christmas?
Yes, it's Christmas.
Wow.
Me and Joe were just having a conversation in our little catch up before about sort of getting presents and have we got everybody's stuff and are we feeling festive. I don't know about you. This year's been a bit weird because I've not been out to any shops at all. So like the sort of festivity piece, normally that's what gets me in the Christmas spirit, going out and seeing it, and you know I've not been doing much of that. So I wouldn't say, not to be a bar humbug, but I've not been feeling particularly Christmassy. Don't know about you, Santa. What do you think?
I mean, as Santa, you know, I'm all about Christmas. Me. So yeah, I've been working hard, and I'm totally feeling it this year. It's going to be a Christmas like no other.
Great, that's good to hear. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I love Christmas. As you can tell, I've been proper in the Christmas spirit today, getting the old festive jumpers out. No, I feel really festive actually, even though it's been, like I say, a really strange year and it's going to be really different. Yeah, I do feel really festive. Got all presents kind of sorted, I think, really wrapping up. Been trying to, obviously we have Finn's birthday beginning of the month, and then when that's kind of done and dusted, we try and get into Christmas mode then. And I think like everyone, if you enjoy Christmas, people are trying to start it as early as possible this year and get as festive as possible because it's that nice, just brings you a nice feeling, even if we can't do the things that we would traditionally do. So I think the Christmas spirit will be even bigger this year because people will just be wanting to have a nice time in whatever way they can.
Yeah. I think actually, Joe, you've just triggered something then as to why I probably don't feel as festive. We like, generally speaking, as a family, we have different people we like sort of do Christmas things with all through December. So we always go, like with the kids' godparents, we always go on like a Santa special, which is like a train, and go on and Father Christmas comes down and all these different things we do. And like every weekend is booked up for a month, these of different family things or friend things. So I think that's why, because usually by this point, we've done about 5 or 6 Christmas things. That's probably why it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's all about food Christmas, isn't it? Which is going to be interesting. Yeah. What are you having, Gav?
I don't know what I'll be having. Usually it's some sort of like normal dinner with, you know, like all the veg and stuff, but then with like a vegan-ish alternative, so like sausages or, you know, vegan sausages, obviously.
Sausages?
Nut roast, you know, anything like that. So
I'm going for a beetroot Wellington.
I saw that.
Looks phenomenal.
Have you tried it?
No, but it looks phenomenal. And
what about you?
You eat with these first.
Yeah. Are you a traditional turkey guy, Joe?
Yeah, counteract that with as much meat as possible for the few days. Turkey dinner, I think, really. Yeah, go down to Adrian's family to do it. I love the smell of it. I think I love the smell more than the taste, you know. We still buy a little turkey just to use up for like sandwiches or making a pie or something at our own house, just so I can smell it in the morning. It's just that if you ever smell, it's just it's lovely. Sorry, veggies and vegans, but I do love turkey cooking.
Is it like those 15 bird roasts you get where they're basically like it must be. It starts off with like an emu eating an ostrich, it starts off with like an emu eating an ostrich, eating a
into a little festive robin. Right,
yeah. That's it. Just so you can get as many birds as possible into one thing you put in your oven. Yeah. Oh. Well, I suppose given we've got Santa on the line for a one-off special Cornerstone Catch Up, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your project this year, Project Santa.
Yeah, so the Cornerstone team reached out to me and said, "Look, we want to do a project this year. Would you be interested in basically putting your name to it and backing it?" And I thought, why not? You know, season of goodwill and all that. And it's been a tough year, so let's paint some smiles on some faces and do something cool. So, ergo, Project Santa, which any of you that have been following the channels over the past few weeks will have seen that come together. Got to give a shout out to Dean. Found a fantastic property. Did that young Dean. He's a smart lad. Found a really good 2-bed flat over in Coventry, which we purchased 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago now, maybe. And yeah, undergoing kind of a full transformation. So it's a really nice kind of partnership piece because we've got the guys at Keystone Foundation involved. We've got P3, who are a support organisation that are currently working with the family that's going to be moving in there as the move on family. And it's the family coming out of temporary accommodation, and it's going to be their long-term move on home. So they get a long-term tenancy with us at that local housing allowance rate, and it's going to be an all-round good story. So for tons of volunteers, tons of furniture and bits and pieces. We're going to kind of deck the house out, get it all fully renovated, and it's going to be a really special moment. So yeah, up against it on the timeline, but I'm used to this. These deadlines come fast. 24th, my elves are going mental, and we always make it happen. So this will be no different. So yeah, we got to get the refurb finished by Friday is the ambition. Get some of the decoration, the furniture, all the bits in there for Monday, Tuesday next week, and I think it's the 23rd. Is that right, Gav? When the family move in?
Yeah, that's right, Santa. I mean, you can tell how bought in Santa is. He keeps on referring to Cornerstone as we. He really feels like he's one of the team. So, I do.
I've been waiting for this moment.
Yeah, it's great. And what's been really nice is it was like a bit of an idea. We could do this, and then before you knew it, it took on a life of its own. It's got a project plan. It's got 50 million people involved in it. The coordination is epic. Beth is happened to be project master extraordinaire. The donations have come flooding in, both financially and in terms of items that we need for the family moving in. And it's gone like next level, I think, in terms of how much people want to give, right through to we've got interior decorators involved, sorting out all the food shopping, ready for them moving in, gifts, decorating the children's bedrooms. It's gone really to a next level, and that's fantastic because I think that's exactly what the spirit of Christmas is about something special. And it'll be a massive Christmas to remember for this family, that's for sure.
There's no chimney on it though, so I'm hoping somebody leaves me a key safe, maybe a code, just so I don't want to make too much noise. I'll just do my bit and then
use your magic. Just use your magic.
Yeah, I do bit of fall back on.
Yeah, good. What's been nice throughout this process as well is Joe's been capturing like the befores and the sort of during progress. So next Wednesday we'll have the big reveal. So yeah, it'll be great if you follow us on social media or Keystone Foundation on Instagram and Facebook. If you follow, then you'll be able to see the progress that we've made and the turnaround, which has been a real team effort. So AD who's managing the refurb has moved super quick because it's a busy time of year anyway for everybody. But to turn it around like this has been fantastic. And I know that Beth's already asking for volunteers for getting the finishing jobs done because undoubtedly there's always a last minute push to get a few things over the line. So yeah, it's really good and really exciting. We were sort of thinking this needs to be like a monthly project because it's been so positive and so engaged in terms of team, and will make such a massive difference that we could do this time and time again. And there is a little bit of a thought that actually January is always a tough time of the year. I think is it Blue Monday or something that sits in January. And a great way to counter it is to focus in on what we can do as a positive. So yeah, that'll be that'd be a cool idea as well. But let's get Project Santa done first.
Absolutely. What else have we got then? Project Santa's underway. We were talking about the fact that that's looking like there's a, I don't know if we can put a donation section into this, Joe, but Keystone are raising some money to go towards all of the volunteer work and all of the kind of the food, the decorations, all the bits and pieces that they're providing for the family. So possibly we can put that link in somehow in this thing. Would be cool. And we were looking at it this morning, thinking it might even get overfunded, this one. So it would be nice to probably look at what we can do for a couple of extra families around this time of year and really make the most of it for people. So it will be nice, because it's not about, it shouldn't be about, Christmas shouldn't be about whether you've got money, whether you've got the stuff or whatever else. It should be about the sentiment, the goodwill, and kind of looking out for each other. So probably this year more than ever. So we want to make sure we do that for people that we can. There you go. I don't know if that could be clicked or whatever, but if not, get a pen and paper and good luck writing that down.
I'm sure you can copy and paste
in the comments.
There you go, wicked. Thank you, Jay. No, that's great. And like Dean says, if it doesn't go directly towards this project, we'll be using it on future projects. And the guys are doing some brilliant work in terms of working directly with families on befriending and supporting other families that are having financial difficulties. So there's loads of cool stuff that Keystone are doing. So one of the topics we wanted to talk about was around what we learn through running an organisation, and this was prompted by a LinkedIn post that I did last week, and Joe very kindly helped me to put it into a format that people could actually read and would engage with. And for me, it was I was at the gym and I was on the Stairmaster, that really boring one where you're just like walking up an endless set of stairs, and that always gives me time to think. And I was just thinking, the book I was listening to at the time, because I've always got these on listening to an audio book of some description, and it was talking about like what are the sort of key tips that this person had learned on their journey building a business, and it just made me think, what have I learned? So I just started whilst I was walking on the stepper and it wasn't going too fast, jotting down some ideas and put them into a LinkedIn post, just because I thought, I don't know if it's going to be of use to anybody, but I just thought I would find it interesting to see what other people had learned on their journeys building a business, and just to share a couple of those ones. So, and these haven't necessarily been things I've learned right from the start, but just sort of we went. One was the first one was know what your role and your strengths are. This makes all the difference in how you build things. And I think me and Dean were either incredibly, I suppose, lucky or incredibly well thought out in terms of working together, because our strengths are sort of co-aligned. So yeah, I think that's important, because if you have that, what's the word? If you have that understanding of what your strengths are, and you can combine those with somebody else's strength or a team strength, I think that can make a real difference. I don't know if there's anything in particular you've learned, Dean, as you've gone through the process.
What, this year?
Not this year, just more.
From doing this?
Yeah, from Cornerstone, from.
Yeah, quite a bit, I think. What have I looked? I think I put a post out yesterday that got absolutely no traction, which was a bit of a wounder. But there you go. I guess that happens. We would call that, in previous roles, we'd call that a donut, basically, where you put something out there and nobody cares. So I launched a donut yesterday, which was great. And it was quite interesting because obviously as a big part of our kind of social mission and everything else that I tend to focus on, which is this financial sustainability bit and money and all that. And it's been interesting because when I met you, really, if we wind it all the way back, it wasn't that I didn't have a social conscience as such, but I was on a kind of a personal mission to secure my financial future. And then I knew I could go on and do other things for people. And you came at that from a kind of totally different perspective. And that's probably what I've learned the most from doing this over the last 2 or 3 years, is that the post I put out was about entrepreneurialism and how the reason that you got to do something's got to be bigger than just the financial part. And that's probably what I've learned a lot, is that is very much true. I don't think that's the kind of the stereotypical perspective of running a business and pursuing a career. It tends to be that most people would be driven by the money first. But if you're going to run a business and do the kind of thing we're doing, you've got to have something bigger than just that financial bit. It's important, but it can't be the driver. So I feel really comfortable with where I am now, just personally, in terms of what the motivations are for me, what's right for building a business, and what kind of is going to build something that's there for the really long term is actually what we're all about, as opposed to what do the numbers look like necessarily.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the word that keeps on going around in my head and keeps on being used a lot recently is legacy, in terms of what are you creating that's going to last? And I just like that idea. So when we have a little brainstorming sessions, or when we're thinking about what are we doing, it's about building something that's going to change things in a positive way, not just instantly, but then hopefully for the long term. Keystone have a good philosophy on this. They talk a lot in their sort of material around breaking cycles. And Gene Templeton, who we speak to, and we've had a lot of contacts with, the CEO of St Basil's, the youth homelessness charity. They talk about designing out homelessness, so sort of changing the structures that change the way things happen. And I think that's been quite a big learning. Has been, you're not going to solve everything overnight, no matter how enthusiastic or arrogant you might think you are. It just doesn't happen. And but two, the bits that you play can actually be bigger than what you think it is. So I think that's kind of a cool learning. One of the things I put my number 2 on here was about having a partner, and in terms of the benefit, that's got so many benefits to it. One, I think, like I speak to a lot of people, I hear a lot of people who sort of do it by themselves and lead it by themselves, and I think that sounds incredibly lonely. But I also think it's a massive amount of pressure. Sort of principles of physics. You spread a load over a bigger surface area, and it reduces the pressure. I imagine that if it's just you at leading the ship, you've got to make all those decisions and never double checking with anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have got us to this point on my own. No, not a chance. And I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I would imagine, I'd hope you agree.
Absolutely. I never thought I'd be partnering with Santa. That's the thing.
Who knew?
I wouldn't have, 4 years ago, would have gone, I'm going to be running this fantastic organisation with Santa Claus.
Who knew he wore different clothes as well? I didn't know that. I thought he always wore that red suit.
Yeah.
But no, I think you're right. I remember we obviously did the Goldman Sachs Accelerator last year, and that finalised around about this time last year. And lots of, if not most of the businesses on there were being run by, single founders or single directors. And you could see the pressure, you could feel the pressure. And I remember you go through a lot of workshop exercises and you look at the different departments in the business, and we've always known that we've got kind of a really good, I mean, it's not complete, but we're a pretty complete circle between the two of us in terms of areas that we like and areas that we have experience on. And I was looking at other people thinking, you can just tell that the one person can't have all of that, particularly not, it's very rare that you're going to find one person that not only has the capability, but actually would get the enjoyment out of doing all of those pieces of the puzzle. And what we've always been quite clear on is making sure that we try to stick as much as possible to what we like doing. And if that's our skill set, then great. There's always that little bit of the pie that we both don't like doing and we both aren't very good at. And that's when you look at suppliers and partners and outsourced help to come in and help you. But totally, to be able to make it what it is and to set it up for that long term again, I think we're just very lucky that we've managed to do that together, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one is around quality advice, or paying for quality advice as soon as you can afford to. And I think this is one where people probably cut corners on this. They probably go, I can't really afford to do that. I can do it by myself. I can Google it. I can find out. And I don't necessarily think it's what people are telling you is that world changing. I think it's more you're getting other people's buy-in, and also you're getting the best advice. Free advice is fine, but if you're paying for it, you have a different level of expectation. So that's why I've always been a believer. Whenever anybody offers something to us for free, I'm always like, no, we'll pay for it, because unless obviously it's in a different context. But then I think you get more from it.
Expensive.
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah.
There's something in that though. There was it's like you wouldn't take would you take free advice from somebody that isn't doing what you want to do? You know, and that's what most people will have grown up with. It's like just systemically, you'll have had free advice from teachers, from parents, from aunties, from uncles, from friends, from people that aren't doing what you want to do. So getting those unqualified opinions at no cost. I mean, you might as well shred that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Where's that coming from? So, and in business, we've invested heavily this year, and that's actually probably really strong learning for us. Is that we have got ourselves to a position where we can afford to bring in some expert advice, and it has totally transitioned, I think, where we are and how we're set up now to grow a little bit bigger. So, and we always talk about that value over price piece, which we're really keen on. So if there's clear value in getting another person involved, or another organization, or a system, or a process, whatever that is, it's got to be about the value that brings to the mission or to the organization, and you can't just be fixed on the price. And that's hard. That's really hard when you're a founder and you're an entrepreneur and you start in those early days from nothing and you grow to something. To try and detach yourself from that, I think we're lucky that we had our previous background and experience, you know, corporately, that's kind of helped us make that shift a little bit quicker than most entrepreneurs probably.
Yeah, part of the ego as well. You know, you do have to part the ego sometimes, because particularly when you get excited about certain things, you can get very easily excited and think this is the way we should be doing something, and then you're giving the advice that is counter to that, and you can sort of go down a confirmation bias route where you go, no, you're wrong. I can find lots of reasons, you know, why, but then you have to stop yourself and remind yourself that you're paying for this advice, and people are doing it based on their experience and based on, you know, what they've learned throughout their lives or their background. So yeah, that's useful. It's useful to have that challenge. Yeah, I definitely recommend it.
Yep.
Joe's put a question here: how has your working relationship evolved with each other? That's a deep question. So how has our working relationship evolved? Well, I don't know if it necessarily has. I think we're always strongest when we're talking a lot. Like when we just like, I think if we was in the same room for a day, it would be very rare that we wouldn't get carried away into some deep conversation about something, or pull something apart and put it back together, and then just carry on with whatever we're doing. That's almost like organic. I don't think that's like so much a planned time. Like we used to have structured one-to-ones, which is probably not a bad idea every now and again.
We probably do that.
Just to get the list down. But a lot of that happens organically, like is in just like, where are we at with that, or what should we do with this, or what, you know, and I think that's useful.
Well, they also say like there's a cliche that don't go into business with your friends or your family, right? That's a cliche, and you could understand why that would be the case. But we weren't friends. Like when we met, we weren't friends. We were just we met at work. So our introduction to each other was a professional one, and then we spent a bit more time together, and a friendship grew out of it. So and that I mean, not that I would be like, I'm not saying we would give advice to people on how to set up or work with your business partners, but that's not necessarily a bad place to go, because I think the first thing is professionally, have you worked together? Can you demonstrate that you can work together? And we've done that previously. And then what was really fortunate is that our personal value systems seem to overline really well, and that is really rare. I mean, Naomi said, my dad says it to me. Not many people say that you're very much aligned on your personal belief system, how you operate, the things you like to do, and that's important. But we're not like schoolmates. We don't have that relationship where we go out, you know, to the pub or anything like that. We're very focused on what we do. Our personal value systems are very well aligned, and to me, that's good, because it takes away any of that risk, you know, of something not working out or having a fundamental disagreement. And I can, have we had it? We have differences of opinion, but I can't think of anything in 3 years that's fundamentally driven a wedge between us or what we're trying to do. And I would really struggle to see what that could be, to be honest. Yeah.
And I think Sarah said the same to me. She said, you can't get a piece of paper in between you and Dean. And I like that because of that value alignment piece. And that I think that drives a strong mutual respect. That means that when we do have differences of opinion, we totally understand where the other one's coming from. It's never like we're just off on a total tangent, because I also think, and I would say this, wouldn't I? But I also think we're both relatively reasonable.
Yeah.
And that reason, that lack of extremeness, I think is a benefit, because then you naturally mediate towards an agreement rather than going at polar opposites. Whereas I've worked with a few people that are a bit more at one end or the other. So that's good.
What'll be interesting though over time, it'd be interesting to play this back in 5 or 10 years time, and because the bit you can't control and you try to control, obviously we do this with a board, that have longer experience in the game. What are going to be those big decisions that we're going to have to make? And maybe the bigger we get, the more complicated we get, the more external stresses and pressures are put on the organisation. What happens there? It's going to be interesting. I don't know, but it'll be interesting. I don't know if they're. I mean, Ben and Jerry's, the two guys that found the ice cream. How many success stories are there of those guys where they've met and they've gone all the way through from small to global brand?
Yeah.
Or how many more Facebooks are there where it was, a group of people and then it got bigger and bigger and suddenly people just started tapping out because the thing became bigger than the relationship. That's an interesting one. I don't know how that works. You'd almost need to speak to people at that level and go, what were those things?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That got in the way, basically.
I think it's keeping it simple. So I don't know if you saw, Bernie Taupin and Elton John.
Yeah.
That song, singer, melody, songwriter thing.
Yeah.
I think that's got to be a key to it. Is know your strengths, know where you're at, know where the line is as to what goes where, what you enjoy doing, what you're good at, what you're not so good at. I think the clearer that relationship is, then the easier it is that you don't get, and I'm sounding like a bit like a pat on the back for us, but neither of us are driven by, money or greed or anything like that. So it doesn't come from it. So it's not like I want more, I want a bigger share. It doesn't work like that, because that's not the way we run.
No, I do wonder though if that is not a barrier to growth, but whether you get other people that would look at that and go, should you be, should that be something that you work on? And it is naturally, I mean, this is why you have a board and advisors. You get challenged on those things, and it's never our first default is to, well, let's take that opportunity because it's maybe more profitable. It's never our first default. It's always, does it fit? Do we want to do it? Is it going to make the difference? And then we'll consider that. But it's interesting. How do you keep that and grow? That's the challenge.
I think the mission though, because the vision and the mission is for something bigger, is to solve a problem. That's bigger than, like, if you look at the businesses that have made a big difference in whatever sphere they're in, it's never started with a financial performance. It's always started with, we've got a genuine mission and keeping true to that mission. And if you choose the mission, yes, everything's got to be sustainable. It's got to run. We've got to be able to generate surplus so we can reinvest in. So if it doesn't meet that bar, then obviously it's not going to work. But if your drive is more than just growing something, but for a purpose, that makes a big difference. I feel that because otherwise you could just take your foot off the gas and go, doing an all right job, we're better than the most, but we want to make a huge difference. We want to be better than everybody else that's out there doing what we're doing. Not because we want to have that tick in the box, but because there's loads of people that need that help.
So why would companies list on an exchange? Why would companies go public?
I don't know, make money, I suppose.
As soon as you do that, you give away. It directly involve shareholders who are almost always going to be profit driven, because why would you invest in a I don't know, Apple, Google, whatever? People don't invest in Apple because they're creating new technology and that's changing the world. People invest in Apple because they want to make sure their money's safe and they're going to get their long-term return. But if you were really focused on the mission, why would you open yourself up to that then public? We take Aldi as an example. We talked about this. Aldi is still a privately owned, family-based company, so they can stick true to their mission and they're not beholden to the kind of pressures of the environment or shareholders. But Morrison's, Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda, totally different. They're looking at how they can work together. They're being driven into efficiency. They're almost losing control of maybe what they wanted to achieve. So, yeah, that's interesting.
It's probably though what the driver is behind it, because I think if you take Tesla as an example, and we talk a lot about Elon Musk because he's he's not typical in terms of his vision and his approach and his personality and all those things, and so he's an interesting character. But that is probably a resource thing.
Yeah.
If you are, and this is an interesting question that was. I'm reading a book at the minute called The Entrepreneur Revolution by Daniel Priestley, and he talks about, imagine a figure that if you had next year, you could do all the things you want. What would that figure be? And he says the only caveat is you can't be selfish. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I can't be greedy. That's it. You can't be greedy. I was like, right, okay, greedy or selfish. And so I was like, okay, what would that figure be? So I thought, what are all the things I want to do? And I was thinking it. So I came up with this figure in my head. And then he said, if it was less than £1 billion, you're being greedy. And I was like, hold on a minute, how'd you work that out? And he says, because you're only thinking of yourself. You're only thinking of satisfying your needs and not those around you. And if you think about what going public does and what doing share races, it brings in loads of money. So would Elon Musk be able to do SpaceX off his own back?
Yeah.
Probably not. Yeah. Because it's not generating a profit, I don't imagine. Rocket loading.
But he has to keep it. So his challenge is that challenge, which is from a growth perspective and to scale up and all that. It's a financial exercise, because the more he gets, the more he can do. But he still has to maintain control. He still has to maintain. SpaceX is going to Mars. I don't care how many shares we sell. You can't change that for me. And that's probably down to his conviction, and then investors' belief in his ability to make that happen. So he puts that out there first. He says, we're going to go to Mars, and now you can have shares. And so you know what you're getting into. So it's back to that point we're saying, which is if your mission is first, and that's clear, and that's out there, then investors should invest on the premise that that's what you're here to do.
Yeah, I think you're right.
How's that?
But and so that's what that becomes then. That going public is less about making money, just access to resource, access to money.
It's getting to that mission.
Yeah, because we talk about this a lot. Is effectively the cost of money and the access to finance is one of the key drivers in being able to solve most problems. Well, pretty much all problems, and that's one way to unlock that part of money. The other family, they need to be profitable, they need to generate, they need to reinvest. And you're right, you don't have that pressure to do things a particular way, but you don't have probably access to loads of cash. You have to spend a long time building up those reserves to be able to then make those differences, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay.
So reflecting, next topic then, reflecting on 2020. How has the year been for you?
So it says here, professionally and personally. I'm listening to an audiobook at the moment, which is David Goggins and Can't Hurt Me, which is all about, I'm not sure what it's about yet. I'm 5 hours in and all he's ever done is train. So I'm assuming he's going to do something in a minute. But he's training like a machine, and it's just training and training and training. And that is what 2020 has been for me. It's been a total exercise of conditioning and that delayed gratification and all those things that suggest if pressure was on you, could you perform? And this year, the pressure has been on us because the external environment has closed in, but our internal growth has expanded out, and we've hit those limits. We've hit the limit of growth versus environment, and we're right on the edge. And that is a great place to be if you want to learn and develop and build your capability and test yourself. Then you think 2021, that environment with a vaccine and everything that's going on should start to do that. And then our growth is ready to go. So I feel like, to me, 2020, personally and professionally, because I had a lot of stuff I wanted to do personally, a few trips, expeditions, climbs and whatever else. And I've had to put all those back. My marathon, everything was all delayed. I'm not going to do those, but I've got an opportunity to do another 12 months of preparation and training and getting more resilient to do that. So I didn't see it that way at the time. At the time, it's just frustrating. But looking back, I think I've taken a lot from that will kind of build a stronger foundation. If the game is now easier next year, great. If it's harder, can it be much harder? Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. That's a good way to look at it, actually, training. Professionally, personally, 2020. So I've had a couple of personal dips, I suppose, that have been challenging, and but coming back from those has been really positive in terms of building back stronger. So probably naive in the way that I approach lockdown, and just thinking I can cope with this. But I'm somebody who, when significant change happens, it will have an impact. And I don't think I was doing all the good things to balance that out. So what I've done is, with the support of some key people around me, dusted myself off, rebuilt, refocused on the good stuff. So it's put me into a better position. So yeah, learned some more about myself in 2020 personally. I think professionally it's been really interesting, because I think it's been, for some businesses, it will have been really hard in other ways. Like it will have been really hard financially and to carry on going. For us, it's been really hard because of the growth. And I think that's the nature of what we do, is that, when people are more in need, services like ours and support like ours is going to be more needed, and launches of new services and those sort of things. So team growth, just immense challenges in terms of launching a service under the initial lockdown. All those sorts of things have been, and to get through those and to get to a position where now we're in December and we're doing a project like Project Santa, and we've built a really strong team. Some of which are, I think I've only been in the office like 1 or 2 times. That's really strange. I think that's been a good year. Like I would never call 2020 good for people, for the sort of the wider world. Of course, it's not been, but in terms of what the ingredients that you've been given, what you can make from it, I think we've made an all right recipe, is what I'd say. Yeah, it's been as good as it could be under the circumstances.
I think people will look back on it in a few years' time and see the value out of it. I think either on a human level or from a business level, it'll be, if you could withstand that, then you're showing how resilient you are, and it is a test. That's all these things ever are. They are a test, and sometimes you'll pass and sometimes you won't. And if you pass when it's hard, then that should be a real motivator.
Yeah. And we've tried to keep positive throughout. And one of the things we did is Joe had the idea of sort of reaching out to the team and just gathering some of their highlights of 2020, trying to keep it just sort of the positive focus. And I always feel a little bit nervy when Joe does things like this, because we don't check them off. We just give them to Joe. It could be 20 people saying this has been an awful year, I hate Cornerstone. But I'm gonna hand over to Joe to run the video, and we can see what people actually think of 2020.
Oh, my highlight of the year, that is really hard. This year's just gone by so fast. To try and pick one thing out as a highlight, I can't even remember last month, let alone the rest of the year. That's just kind of year that we've had. It's just been so busy. We've handed over so many properties to families in need, and that has been really fantastic to see.
So my cornerstone moment of 2020 would be the resilience and the strength that the team showed when we were put into lockdown back in March and April. To be able to keep delivering for our clients, to pull together as a team and really make a big difference during that time was great to see. And I think it set us up for a really good foundation for 2021 and beyond.
Hiya! I would have to say that the highlight of my year is most definitely securing the position with Cornerstone. It's been a great couple of months already, but I think within Cornerstone, since I've started, I've helped one of our homeless families move into a property. I've helped them with their emails, contacting a school for their children, and I managed to get a family pack for them because they literally had nothing. So I've managed to do that as well. So that's probably my highlight so far. But it's only been 2 months. Thank you.
Stop right there. An actual Christmas miracle has happened. We have a video message from the one and only Oliver Johnston. Take it away, Oliver.
Hi, I'm Oliver Johnston. You might remember me from such videos as Cornerstone Catch Up and trying to hide from the Project Santa video. My highlight for 2020, I would say it was the 24 properties that we handed over in April. So we had like a 2-3 week rush to get 24 properties ready. All came together as a collective, got the properties all up to spec. and then got 24 families in, all in the space of 5 working days. It was an incredible opportunity, incredible achievement, and yeah, pulled it off, and that's definitely my highlight of the year.
Aside from joining the team in May, we're seeing how our portfolio has grown over that time. We've put together 37 new homes since I started, and that means over 200 bed spaces for those people. Within there being 24 move-on accommodations for long-term tenancies, which is just fantastic to be able to help that many people.
So I'm actually going to go for when I got to visit the youth centre back in August. So this is going to be our new home and the site of the affordable housing development that we're going to be undertaking. And it was great to go down there with Gavin and Dean and the Keystone guys, Abby and Derek, to really get a feel for the space and get really excited about all the different plans and all the different things that we could be doing with it. And yeah, I just really love the visit, and it got me really excited, and I can't wait to see how it develops over the next 12 months until we can actually get in there and start making an even bigger difference.
I would have to say that my highlight for 2020 has been actually getting my apprenticeship here at Cornerstone Partnership after losing my previous career and not being able to do that anymore. So that was a very, very positive thing for me.
Joining Cornerstone in August, getting to know everybody, seeing the fantastic things everyone does, delivering the Coventry 8 properties, the move-on properties in October was a real milestone.
When you think of 2020, I suppose it's pretty easy to think about some of the more challenging things, but I think it's the way we've responded to those challenges that have been a real win for me. Probably the biggest one that I think long term is going to have the biggest impact is the formation of Keystone Foundation, and since Abby and Derek have joined as well, they've made a real big difference. So yeah, for me that's probably the biggest thing, because out of so much negativity there was a real positive that's going to help people for generations to come. So yeah, that's a pretty cool part of 2020.
How cool was that?
Yeah, that was wicked. We need to send that out, Joe, after this to the guys to see, because I don't think anybody's ever seen Oliver on camera.
we had a unicorn moment. It was an absolute unicorn moment we had there.
It was that was cool. Do I have a lisp?
Do you have a lisp?
Do you have a lisp? Did you see that video?
It sounded like I had a lisp on that video. maybe it was so cold that
let's try this. Mississippi. Would you have a lisp on that word, or is it L's you can't say?
Don't know. It just sounded like I had a lisp. Not that there's anything wrong if I had a lisp. I just never noticed I had before. I think I was probably so cold.
The more you say lisp, the more it sounds like you have one.
Yeah.
I'm not going to speak anymore. That's it. Oh dear. No, that was great. Great to see from the team. Nice to hear people being glad about joining Cornerstone as well, despite the fact that it's been a challenging year and there's been loads going on, and people are still saying they love it, which is really good.
Yeah, great.
That is really cool. Thank you for doing that, Joe. That's really cool. Was there anything that surprised me in that video of what people said? I think the April handover, those 24 and getting those done in such a short time, was mammoth. So I'm not surprised that came up a few times.
I struggled to think something. I almost wanted to go back through photos because so much happens almost weekly. And there was one, I remember a while back, I can't remember what month it was. It was after lockdown, but there was a period where we were sharing like a little summary of what we did every week. And the stuff we were doing was just every week there was a little step forward and a positive move. And we've had loads of positive tenant stories, which would be real positives. And there are loads. So I think it's hard sometimes when you get put on the spot and they're like, what's your one moment? And you think there's probably 20. If you sat down and thought about it, there probably are that many, which is nice.
Well, Faye saying about from when she joined 37, like I didn't even think about that number. We always spoke about when we did 54 properties in 52 weeks.
Yeah,
being like really busy, but we didn't do that in the middle of a pandemic. No.
I mean, there's all the work we've done for St Basil's, there's the work we've done for Valley House. So those were two completely new, business models, basically two completely new new services that we just started in response. We were approached and we put those together. And so those are massive wins. That's a very, very specific client group with a very specific need. So all that work there. There was all the finishing off the project in Nuneaton, the work we're doing with North Warwickshire, that first one with Warwickshire County Council. If you look at those individual cases and studies, the case studies, the social impact reports, all of that, there are loads actually, which is great. And so next year, the challenge is keeping that going.
This is it. Once the reins are taken off, the reins of pandemic, you wait. That's going to be cool. That's going to be a good year. I probably said this in 2019, but I've got a good feel about 2021.
Yeah,
I do. I think it's going to be a year of building, a year of, well, hopefully literally.
Building, yeah.
Literally with the youth centre, literally building stuff, which is great, and figuratively building as well. Building in terms of how we can help, and like you said, you know, that growth, those growing pains, getting through that, having the growth spurt, and then being out the other side of it. So yeah, that's cool. So what big plans are on the horizon then?
Well, that you've mentioned that, and that is obviously one, which is the youth centre. So that will be our first development project, for want of a better word. But we'll be introducing brand new affordable housing, and given the build programme, it's conceivable at this point that it could be completed by this time next year if we get it on schedule, but we're subject to some natural delays. So that's going to be huge in terms of if we look back in 10, 15 years time, that's going to be a real turning point where we do something quite epic on that kind of development stage. And then what does that look like going forward? So I'm totally excited about that. And I mean, it's more of the same, really. More of the same. We've got a few little new services that we're designing that we're looking to operate as well to kind of sort of expand our capability. And we've built a really good engine and a really good machine now that's got loads of skill, loads of depth, loads of enthusiasm and creativity, which is, I mean, that's a key word, actually. We don't talk about that enough, but we are a really creative organisation. Joe is graphically, but the rest of us in our discipline, really creative. And I think being able to apply that to different sectors within the homelessness sector and the social housing economy, it's going to be exciting. There's a few little experiments to do. Are they all going to go right? Probably not. But I think this time next year, are we going to be in a bigger position and have helped a lot more people? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. So I suppose it's worth closing and just saying to everybody who's followed us this year and supported in lots of different ways, have a fantastic Christmas and a wonderful New Year. I hope it's safe and that you get to enjoy it with the people that you love. And if you've got a break over Christmas, enjoy and get ready for a pretty epic 2021.
Merry Christmas.